how are you doing? Today I will be talking about all the series that I finished in 2022. When I started my channel, I started this series called Series Discussion, where I review every series I finish as a way to motivate myself to finish my series because I'm terrible at that. And then this year I amped up my motivation by keeping track of all the series I'm in the middle of during the year, because I have a master spreadsheet that I keep track of every single series I have ever made progress in. But this year I made this page in my reading journal in which I kept track on the series I made progress in 2022, and that really helped me motivate to read more series because I saw it at a glance very easily what series I was reading. And to help motivate me even further to read more series, I will be doing a video like this at the end of every year where I just go over all the series that I finished in the year. So yeah, I will have timestamps in the description as well as some links to the series discussions for each of these series if you want to know more of my spoiler-free thoughts on all of these series and the individual books in it. Only the two last series of this list don't have one yet because I finished those during my hiatus, and those reviews, like series discussions, will be coming in February. Let's begin with the first series I finished in 2022, which is Talon by Kagawa. I think I only read the last book of the series this year. Still, it was finished. It is a series of books about dragons. It's fun. It was not. Basically, a couple of years ago, I read the Iron Face series by Kagawa, and I absolutely loved that world. I read everything in it, and I was obsessed, and therefore I wanted to go back and read everything Kagawa has ever written. And I started with the Talon series, as Talon is a book I already owned at the time. And I read Talon, and even though I didn't like it, I saw a lot of potential in it for the world and what was going on, because I think it had a very interesting premise. But then as the series continued, I liked it less and less and less and less, and I didn't really like the main characters. I think Kagawa constantly went for the less interesting option when it came to the story, and I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of how everything ended up playing out. Then the next series I finished is The Brown Sisters with Talia Hibbert, which I also started this year. This is a trilogy of contemporary romances, adult, and they're companion novels, and each one follows a different brown sister, obviously. And sublime. I absolutely loved the series. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I was addicted to it, loved it so much that I immediately went out and purchased the other two books, immediately read those as well, and was obsessed with those as well. Actually, Eve Brown even made it in my favorites list of the year because I adored every second of this series. Then next, I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA mystery series that's really fun and has mixed media. The second book introduces a podcast element as well, and it is really well executed in my opinion, except the last book, which is the one I read this year. I really enjoyed book one. Book two, I liked a little bit less. I thought it was a bit boring, but overall still really good. But the third book I thought was abysmal, and I know there's very mixed opinion on that last book, but I just thought it was very horribly written. Then the next series I finished was the Rokesbys series by Quinn. This is another one that I started this year and finished this year. Again, this is a series of companion novels, so standalone romance novels. It's historical romance, and it's kind of like a prequel series to the Bridgerton series. It follows basically the generation before the Bridgertons, and I adored book one. I was so obsessed with it, flew through it. Again, I made it in my favorites list of the year. And then 3, 4 and wait, what's the order? 2 and 4 I really enjoyed. Wait, I don't remember the order. I read these books out of order, so now I don't remember the orders that they come in. But there's only one book I didn't really like in this one, but for the rest, the other two books I did quite enjoy, even if I didn't love them as much as I did the first one. It's a lot of fun time. Next series I finished is the Caraval series by Garber, which was an adventure. This is one I started and finished in the year. Caraval, absolutely adored. Again, made it on my favorites list. The second book I did not like, and the third book I kind of felt mad about. So that was a fun experience to go to. It was not. Then the next series I finished is The Inheritance Games by Lynn. This one I really enjoyed. I do think the series got better each book because I feel like it upped the antes every single time. And with the third book, at the beginning I wasn't liking it. I was like, oh my god, not again. We're not doing it again. I can't have all these series be good until the last book, you know? But then it really picked up and it delivered and it was so good. Then next I read the Bellinger sisters duology with Tessa and Bailey. This again is a duology of 2 companion adult romances. I do recommend reading these in order just because the romance of the second book kind of like starts a little bit in the first one. But technically you don't have to, just saying that. And I really enjoyed the duology, which I wasn't expecting as much as I ended up doing. I just thought they were 2 fantastic romances, and I really have found in 2022 that I really like Tessa Bailey's writing, so I'm very excited to read more by her as well. Then next I read the STEMinist novella series by Hazelwood. This is a series of 3 novellas that are standalone companion romances. They were fun. Again, I didn't like the last one. The first 2 were a lot of fun. They were novella length, so I did have some issues with it where I would have liked things to be developed a little bit more, but then like the last book I just didn't connect to it, so I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't for me, I guess. And then the last series I have for you is the Modern Fairy Tale series by Holly Black, which is also like the second to last book that I read this year. What was the last book in the series? And this one I read. I didn't like book 1, but I really liked her writing and the world that I was studying, so I was very excited to continue reading, and I read book 2 and I really enjoyed that. I thought the characters were a little bit underdeveloped and I wasn't as invested as things as I would have liked, but I really liked the storyline in that one. And then book 3 almost was a DNF, almost was my favorite in the series, because I feel like the book 3 exists out of like 2 points. One being our main character Kai, I don't know how to pronounce her name, was very insufferable, very stupid, and I don't like her at all, and her storyline was incredibly boring, and that almost made me DNF the book. And then on the other side we have 2 side characters that are very interesting and I love very much, and have such an interesting storyline going on, and that made me absolutely love the book. But combining those 2 ended up with a book that I really did not like. If you've read any of these series, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Again, timestamps and links in the description for every single series except for the Modern Fairy Tales and the STEMinist novellas and the Modern Fairy Tales, and of course the Bellinger sister duologies, because I don't do series description for duologies. But for the STEMinist novellas and Modern Fairy Tales series, it's coming. I'm working on it, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you around some other time. Bye.